And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. On today's program, we are going to be going to Mexico. We are going to be making an enchilada pie. Now, many of you have had enchiladas in a Mexican restaurant. That's the tortillas wrapped around like a shredded beef or shredded chicken filling, and then it's got an enchilada sauce over it with lots of cheese and that kind of thing. We're going to be making a take on that recipe, but this is actually made in a spring-form pie pan, and it's just cut into wedges, and then you garnish it however you like. It's absolutely delicious. We are going to be we're going to preheat our skillet on medium-high heat. We're going to be using ground turkey instead of the traditional beef or chicken filling because it's a healthier alternative. You can substitute ground turkey in so many different recipes, and it is so delicious, and it's so much leaner and more heart healthy for you. So in this recipe today, we are going to be substituting ground turkey. Now, normally if you were browning ground beef, you would not need to add any oil because of the natural fats in the beef, excuse me. But with turkey, remember, there's not a lot of fat in turkey, and I've got the ground white meat turkey. You can get different kinds in your grocery store. But we're going to start out with about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. And we are going to start chopping our vegetables first. We're going to chop one onion. I love Mexican food. I could just eat that chips and salsa and the Mexican food. I love fajitas, and Mike loves enchiladas and chimichangas and just different things. And then later on the program, we're going to be trying something that I bet most of you have never tried. And we are going to be frying plantains. Plantains are it's a tropical fruit. It looks like a banana, but it's much greener and firmer than a banana. It is not a banana, but they are absolutely delicious fried. And so we are going to be making fried plantains sprinkled with a little bit of cinnamon sugar. And they're yummy and they're good, and it's just the perfect ending to a spicy dish because I do tend to make my Mexican food spicy. So here I have one onion, a medium-sized onion that I have chopped, and we're going to add it to our olive oil that's preheating on the stove. We have 3 cloves of garlic, and we have half of a green pepper. You could leave the green pepper out if you didn't like green pepper. Some people don't like green peppers. I love them. But you could leave it out if you didn't want to, or you could use a red pepper or a yellow pepper, whatever you have on hand. Remember the rule with peppers to chop from the inside of the pepper out, then turn it sideways. You don't have to be a perfectionist with this. Just a rough chop, but a medium dice on your green pepper. I love them. I just think they're sweet and juicy and yummy. I eat them raw. I love them cooked. Love them with breakfast. Love them in lunch, on sandwiches, little green pepper rings on sandwiches. We're going to do a panini day one day. I'm going to bring my panini maker. I'm not a big gadget person, but that is one thing that I bought recently that I just love because I like hot sandwiches. I'm not a big fan of cold sandwiches, but I love hot sandwiches, and I thought, I'm going to try this. And I make paninis at home, so we'll do a panini day one day very, very soon. We're going to stir our peppers and our onions. Smells good already. And we've got 3 cloves of garlic. Mexican cooking, remember, just bash your garlic with the side of your knife. Take the skins off. And just throw the skins away and chop the garlic. I love garlic. And it's so healthy for you. It cleanses your blood. It helps lower cholesterol and all of that stuff. It has a little spot on it. I think I'll go ahead and cut off. But kind of bash your garlic. Run your knife through it one way. And then take your knife chopping is so easy, and we need to learn how to use our knives as our friends. Put one end down on the board and just chop, chop, chop. Hold your hand down and just chop away. And you want to kind of, get a smaller dice on your garlic. This is some strong garlic. It smells delicious. And that just makes a fine little garlic, chopped up garlic for our onions and our pepper. Remember to always make sure that you add garlic to something unless you're going to take it out real quick, because garlic will burn very, very easily, and it gets bitter if it burns. So we're going to add our garlic to our green peppers and onions, and some got out there, so let's put that in the pot. We're going to add a pound. Ground turkey comes pre-packaged up, so we're going to add, let's take out the liner, we're going to add 1 package of ground turkey breast, and we're going to brown up our ground turkey. You could, if maybe you don't like ground turkey. I love it. I love turkey burgers and ground turkey in a lot of recipes. But if you don't like ground turkey, you could substitute ground beef if you wanted to, or ground chicken. That would be fine. It would taste, very good with the ground beef in it. I've made enchiladas with ground beef before, so it's fine. You could, if you had some leftover, maybe you did a roast chicken one day and you had some leftover roast chicken or turkey. You could use the turkey leftovers from a turkey or a turkey breast and just add it in there. You could do that. That would be great. That'd be a great way to make leftovers usable and not the same old just leftover turkey with dressing. But you could use your leftover turkey in your enchiladas. I love Mexican food. I remember my sister-in-law Denise, Mike's sister, and I went to Cancun, Mexico several years ago before we got married and had children and could do those things. And I got to tell you this story. It was so funny because I'm used to American Mexican cooking. And we were in Mexico, and we went to a Mexican restaurant to get fajitas. And we go in there, and I love fajitas, and I just love hot and spicy. I was completely unprepared for how hot and spicy Mexican food is. So we go in this restaurant, we ordered the fajitas, and they brought them out on the sizzling skillet like we're all used to seeing. And I took their salsa, because I like salsa in with my fajita meat in my tortilla. And I just took a big spoon of salsa and I just layered it on there like I did. Took one bite, and I promise you, I felt like flames were shooting out of my ears. It was so incredibly hot. So I learned that there's a difference in American Mexican food and Mexican food. And Mexican food from Mexico is much, much, much hotter. And I like spicy, but that was a bit much. She laughed, and it ended up being, for my taste, to take the tines of my fork, dip it in the sauce, and just barely touch was plenty hot enough. So that can tell you how hot that was. I've got to take a quick break. I'm just going to keep browning this up. When I come back, we're going to complete this pie and get it into the oven, and then we'll make the fried plantains. I'll be back with you in just a minute. Hi, and welcome back. Now we've browned up our ground turkey and our peppers and our onions and our garlic. We've just kind of softened that up. We drained out just a little bit of the juices. You know, ground turkey is so lean. There's not a lot, and it really wasn't fat as much as just the liquids coming out. But we're going to be adding some liquids to it, so we don't want it to be too much. We're going to add 1 can of drained black beans. Very, very popular in Mexican cooking, and I love them. Absolutely love them. I'm going to add, I only had a big can. You don't really want the full big can, so we're only going to add half of this of diced tomatoes. I'm going to add about half that can, and I'm going to see how we look at the end and make the determination of whether or not I need to add more. So we're adding a half of a can, or 1 small can of the diced tomatoes. If you have fire roasted, that would be even better. It's looking good, looking good. We're going to add 1 cup of frozen corn that has been thawed. We're going to add 1 cup of that. We've got 1 of the little small cans, 4 ounces of the diced green chilies that you can get in any grocery store out there. And it just doesn't that look so pretty and yummy and just, oh, so good. We've got 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. Cumin is just, one of my favorite spices. It's so smoky and good. I'm going to add a dash or so of cayenne pepper, and I'm going to add some Tabasco sauce. Now that's completely optional for you. I like spicy, so I'm going to add just a few dashes of Tabasco or hot pepper sauce, whatever you have on hand will be fine. I like spicy, so we're going to add quite a bit of that. Now this is something that you can get in any grocery store out there in the Mexican food section. It's enchilada sauce, and it comes in a little can. We're going to add about half a cup of that for right now. And we're going to stir, and I'm going to just stir all that together. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some pepper. Not a lot of salt because the black beans, of course, were packaged in salt. The tomatoes that I bought had the salt in them. You can get no salt added tomatoes, but I didn't today. So I'm going to add my salts in my little drawer here. I use only kosher salt. If you'll notice, you never will see a salt shaker. I don't even own a salt shaker. I use kosher salt for everything because I like to control the amount that I put in, and so I put it in a container, but I don't think it's got as harsh of a flavor as sometimes the iodized regular table salt will have. And it's available, right next to the salt. The regular iodized that you put in salt shakers, it's available in any grocery store out there. It's not a specialty item anymore. And so we've got, I just really do prefer. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. And something I've told you before, but something I am going to try very hard on this program is I'm not going to use items that we can't find. If I go anywhere, one of my favorite things to do is go to, maybe a specialty store like an Indian grocery store or a Chinese market. We have a wonderful Chinese market locally here in Johnson City, but not every one of you are going to have a Chinese market. So, I'm going to try not to get things and ingredients that you can't find in where you live. And so I really will try very hard not to do that, to where you can have the items too. I'm going to add just a touch more of the enchilada sauce. And we're just going to let that simmer for a few minutes. It looks yummy and it smells even better. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to assemble our enchilada pie. This is a springform pan. Now, probably most of you are used to seeing this to make cheesecakes. And I'll show you how it works. It just has a little load thing on there, and the pan comes completely apart. I love them for cooking. I don't just use them for cheesecakes or baking. I use them a lot for regular dishes. And that's what this is. And how you're going to start this dish is you're going to just buy normal regular flour tortillas that you can get in any grocery store out there. You could use the specialty flavored ones. A lot of times they have spinach or sun-dried tomatoes, whole wheat, whatever you want. You could use the corn tortillas. These are flour tortillas. You want to line the bottom of your pan, and I'm going to cut this one in half. You just kind of want the bottom of your springform pan to be covered. And so that way you see you've got it completely covered with one layer of the tortillas. And we're going to go ahead and add another layer because this is the bottom. It's got to kind of be sturdy. So I'm going to go ahead and add another layer around the edges just so that it looks nice and sturdy to hold our enchiladas sauce here. And it's bubbling away, as you can see on the stove. We need to just turn that off. Let me grab a slotted spoon. And this is very simple to make. You want to take your mixture, and we're going to add, I think I'll just work right here beside the skillet for right at the moment. We want to add our beautiful, colorful mixture. Is that not pretty? It's so colorful and good and yummy. We want to add that in there. Just cover all that at the bottom. Then we're going to add, now this is Mexican blend cheese that you can get in any grocery store out there. We want to add some of the cheese. Yum. It's got queso cheese in it, Monterey Jack, cheddar. Just, oh, so good. Then, you don't have to quite be as meticulous with this layer, but you don't want it to, you want it to cover, but it's okay if it doesn't cover all of the way as you go on up through there. And you might have to cut your tortillas, and that's perfectly okay. As a matter of fact, I think I'll just leave that one like that. Then another layer of your meat mixture. You want to leave some of the juices in there. You don't want it to flow out of the bottom of the pan, but you do want to leave some of the juices in there. This is so healthy with the ground turkey and the corn. You're getting your vegetables. You're getting your protein from the turkey and the black beans. So good. So good. I just love it. And then another layer of just sprinkle a little bit of cheese on there. And then your final layer is going to be your tortillas, and I'm going to cut this in half. Oven is preheated to 350 degrees. Let's take the rest of the enchilada sauce and just lightly go over the top. Use a knife to kind of help spread that, pack that down in there. Yum, 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 yum. And then, of course, your final layer is the rest of your cheese. This was one of the 2-cup package of the Mexican blend cheese, but you could use whatever kind of cheese that you like. 350 degrees for about 30 minutes, and it will be yummy and delicious. I'll be right back. Hey, and welcome back. And we have baked our enchilada pie, and I'll get to that in just a minute. It looks absolutely delicious. But I bet many of you have seen these in your grocery store and wondered, what in this world is that, and what in the world do I do with it? This is called a plantain, and it looks like a banana, only it's much bigger. As Mike said, he asked me the other day, he said, what is that? And I said, it's a plantain. He said, it looks like a banana on steroids. And I said, well, you're kind of right, in that it is big, it's much fatter than bananas, and it's a lot starchier, a lot denser, but they're yummy. And what we're going to do with them today is kind of make a dessert type dish out of them. We're going to fry them. Very popular in Mexican food, in the like a Caribbean cuisine type thing, South Florida and down in through there and into Mexico. Very good, and we're going to cover them with a mixture of chili powder and cinnamon and sugar, and it's going to be so good. But we've got a shallow pan here that I've got just canola oil. You could use canola oil or vegetable oil in it, and I'm preheating it, and I have peeled one plantain, and let me show you the easiest way to do this is just cut off the ends. They are a little more difficult than bananas to peel, but they're not hard at all. And just take your knife and score it in a couple of places, and just simply take the peeling down. And of course that's inedible, and you just want to throw that away. Like I said, it's a little tougher peel than a banana, but it just peels off. And as you can see, they look like big bananas, but listen, they're not. I've tried them just like this, and I don't care for them just like this. They need a cooking. They're full of starch, and they do need a little bit of something, sauteing or something. Take your knife and cut them on a diagonal. What that will do, and you want them about 1/4 of an inch thick, and as you can see, they're a little bit, peachy pink kind of colored on the inside, and you want them about that thick. Cut them on the diagonal, and they just look prettier that way. And food you eat first with your eyes, so you want to just kind of work your way around the banana or the plantain and just cut them on a diagonal. Both of I'm using 2, you can use however many you need. And our oil should be hot. And I'll tell you, a good little trick to test your oil, to see if it's hot. You can, of course, drop a breadcrumb or something like that in your oil to see how quickly it says. If you take a wooden spoon and you put it down in there, you see the little bubbles that have formed around that? That tells me my oil is hot. And that's a really good way to test your oil. And we're going to just carefully put the plantains down in the oil, and I forgot to get me a pair of tongs here. You want to use tongs to turn them, of course. You could use tongs to put them down in the oil. They just fry for a couple of minutes on each side. As you can see, the oil is nice and hot. They're just going to fry in the oil. Just put a few in there. And as you can see, they get a golden brown color. Let them go for just a few seconds and then turn them over. As you can see, it gets just a golden brown. They're yummy. We're going to sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon sugar, kicked up a little bit. That one doesn't want to go. Come on, you. Just let them go for a minute on the other side. And then just take some kind of, I'm just using a little spoon here that has the sieve in it. But you could use tongs. You could use whatever you wanted to remove them. This is a wonderful little basket strainer that is just great for this kind of stuff because it lets the oil drain back in. And as you can see, they just get kind of golden brown. That's exactly what you want. Use your tongs to help you. They just take a minute, folks. They do not take a long time. Just a minute. If your oil is hot enough, that's a neat little trick for you to try with the wooden spoon. Works every time because you want your oil to be about 350 degrees. I'm just placing them on a cookie sheet. And then we will do the rest. We will just put them in there and I'll show you how we're going to dress these up. Be careful adding them. Just toss them around. Let them. Now, in my bowl, I have a couple of teaspoons of sugar. I've got a couple of teaspoons of cinnamon and just about a fourth of a teaspoon of chili powder. Let me grab a spoon. And we are going to dress these, just make them into a sweet dessert type thing. Just stir that all together. Come over here. I'm a lefty, so let me switch hands. And then just simply take your cinnamon sugar and sift it over the top while they're hot. So it just simply gets yummy and that sugar just sweetens them right up. And that is fried plantains. Now, let me show you let me turn that off because that oil is plenty hot enough. This is our enchilada pie. What we did is I took it out of the oven. I took off the edge of the spring-form pan, and as you can see, it is just simply beautiful, and it just looks yummy, and you can garnish it with, I just garnished it with a little bit of lettuce and some chopped tomatoes, and it just is so, so very, very good. And you just let that cool for about 10 minutes. I'm putting my plantains on our plate here. Let that cool for about 10 minutes before you try to cut into it. And then here you go. Here is you a wonderful Mexican feast. We have enchilada pie and fried plantains with cinnamon sugar, chili, cinnamon sugar sprinkled over the top. I hope you enjoy these recipes, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna. Enjoy.
If you enjoyed this episode of Everyday Manna and would like a copy of today's recipes, please write Living Faith Television, CO Everyday Manna, P.O. Box 1867, Abingdon, Virginia, 24212, or visit our website at www.livingfaithtv.com. Please be sure to include the program number found on the bottom of the screen in your letter so we will know which recipes you would like. Thanks for watching, and join us again for the next episode of Everyday Manna.